Hello everyone, it's me, your average bonehead, Jay, and guess what time it is? That's right, time for another Steven Universe double feature. And today's episodes are So Many Birthdays and Lars and the Cool Kids. Starting off with So Many Birthdays, the episode starts with Steven finding a very old picture of the gems, as well as one of my favorite Garnet lines.
The hard part was getting the shark to pose.
And Steven ends up realizing that the gems are hundreds of thousands of years old. And more importantly, he realizes this means the gems haven't celebrated any of their birthdays. So to compensate for this, Steven decides to throw all three gems the ultimate birthday party. Unfortunately, the gems kind of find Steven's party celebrations to be a bit immature. This causes Steven to leave and start contemplating how mature he actually is, which then causes him to start rapidly aging when he feels like he must be more mature. Yes, the other big thing this episode wants to show us, aside from how old the gems really are, is to emphasize more on how Steven's powers are directly connected to his current emotional state, which is something they'll go more in depth with later on. But for now, it's only really focusing on the aging process, which is happening too quickly. Yes, 13 episodes in and Steven already almost dies. Luckily, the gems do their best to try and de-age Steven, and in the end, they manage to save him when Steven realizes how much they care for him, which makes him feel like a kid again. And the episode ends on that note. Now, you've probably noticed that in a lot of these videos, I've been saying that these episodes are very simple, and that's because that's just how the earlier episodes of Steven Universe are. Steven Universe is very much a slow-burning show, where in the early episodes, they'll introduce something, kind of talk about and resolve that problem, and then we won't see it again until much later down the line. It's one of those shows that you really gotta pay attention to and watch almost every episode to fully understand what's going on. My point is further proven in the next episode, Lars and the Cool Kids. In this episode, Lars, along with Steven, are trying to hang out with the proclaimed cool kids, Jenny, Buck, and Sour Cream. And Lars throughout the whole episode is trying to make a good impression on them. One thing I do like about the cool kids is that they're just genuinely nice people. They're not delinquents or jerks, which has always been something I've consistently preached that I want more shows to show, is that, hey, if it turns out if you're a nice person, people will actually like you. The only major rule the trio breaks is swimming in water that was blocked off by the gems earlier in the episode because it has some magical moss from rose quartz. I'm pretty sure there's an Oompa Loompa song for that. And before we get to the most hard-hitting moment of the episode, I just want to point back out to the whole slow burn thing that this show does. This is Lars' first proper episode, and he'll be a pretty recurring character throughout the series in terms of getting episodes about him. And this episode is the first one to really show us the type of character Lars is. He's kind of a poser, trying to present himself as someone who is, in his eyes, cooler than he really is. Lars doesn't know who he really is. He just wants to fit in with a crowd, rather than actually be his own person and have people like him for him. And while we will see more of this development later on in the series, here Lars is still acting his easily agitated self, to the point where he ends up insulting Steven's mom.
All because of your weird mom!
What do you know about my mom? I didn't even get to know my mom!
This is another part of the whole slow burn thing that I was talking about, this time for Steven. One thing that annoys me when it comes to people who don't know anything about Steven Universe talking about it, they'll always portray Steven as this bland, overly happy one-note character, when that's not who he is at all, really. Steven is prone to outbursts, and we'll definitely see a lot more of that in the future. But for now, this was the first and one of his biggest. After that, Steven states that the only way they can fix this is by bringing the moss up to the mountain before it consumes them as well. They do that and have a very close call, but once the sun comes out, the moss blooms and all five of them can see its true beauty. And the episode ends on that note. Both of these episodes are really good at establishing the show's whole slow burn thing that I kept mentioning throughout this video. Steven Universe is a show where its main series has 5 seasons, and season 1 is 52 episodes. That's a lot of show, and each episode are only 11 minutes long, so it is good to have things build up throughout the series, whether that be plot points or character development. It makes it rewarding for longtime fans in my eyes. Now, I'm your average bonehead Jay, and I wish you all good night.